This is the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. Ever wish you could re-listen to your favorite interview or segment? Do you enjoy hearing older shows for the first time in years? Then the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less is just what you need. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Yes, thanks so much for listening, and I do hope you enjoy the show. I'm John Solberg, your host for the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. And this episode is being brought to you by The Butcher Shop, purveyors of highly sought after 100% Australian non-crossbred Wylara 9 Plus briskets. And as always, they are hand-picked out just for you. The Butcher Shop has been retailing the finest meats for the past 15 years. Every week, they're shipping out competition-quality meats to many of the biggest teams in the competition scene across the nation. Simply put, teams who use the Butcher Shop win, and they win often. You're not a competitor, but you still have an eye for the finer cuts? Great news! The Butcher Shop is shipping some of the finest prime, dry-aged Australian Wagyu and Japanese Wagyu steaks to people just like you and me who aspire to be the kings and queens of their cul-de-sacs. The Butcher Shop always has Berkshire, Compart Duroc, Allegiance Duroc, and Prairie Fresh all-natural pork in stock, and again, always hand-picked for you. You might be saying, oh, that sounds great, but can they get me some exotic stuff? They certainly can. The Butcher Shop can get you your next elk steak or camel roast. They've got some ostrich. They've got some crazy stuff. Yeah, I said camel. Let's review the best competition briskets. Check. The best pork selection. Check. Giving you a better overall option to cook at home. Check. So please give the Butcher Shop a call today. 850-458-8782. That's 850-458-8782. Mention the BBQ Central Show for 10% off your entire order each and every time. Also, check them out on their Facebook page, facebook.com/The Butcher Shop. Shop is spelled S-H-O-P-P-E. The Butcher Shop, home of the 100% Australian non-crossbred Wylara 9 Plus briskets. And here's what is going on in today's show. Greg's going to catch up with Bubba Latimer, Pitmaster Bubba Q, and they're going to talk a little restaurant.
All right, so let's transition a little bit here, Bubba. In your other life, you run successful barbecue restaurants. Making it in your backyard is one thing. Getting in the competition side of thing, obviously another. But going full into the restaurant business is always a very risky proposition, no matter what it is that you're going to be cooking. What are some of the most important things one would probably need to consider or have in place to give themselves the best shot at success if they're looking at opening a barbecue restaurant?
Well, I think that there's a lot of variables that come into play. I would say that one of the biggest things, the two biggest things in the grand scheme of things, and what people need to look for, one is their ability to run a business. It's not a matter of being a good cook, which I think is the wrong reason a lot of people open a restaurant. It's really the ability, are you capable of running a business? Because that's two different things. You know, there's a lot of people that are great cooks out there, but they don't have any reason whatsoever to run a restaurant. And if you are in that mentality, what you need to do is you hire somebody that can run and deal with the daily business operations of the restaurant, you know, because that commands so much of your time and just things that have to be done. If you don't take care of that, it doesn't matter how good of a cook you're going to be, your business, the restaurant, is going to fail. And I think that's with any business in the grand scheme of things. You know, and I'm not going to say I'm the best business operator out there in the world. You know, I try and do things that I think are right. I mean, there's obviously things that have to be done, but you know what I know is going to work, hopefully. The second thing is, you know, finances. People just don't understand the logistics and raw cost of the food service business, and whether it's a small sandwich shop or it is a big operation, costs are just, you know, they're incredible. Equipment is expensive. You know, equipment breaks down and has to be maintained. You know, are you ready to pay $125, $150 for the serviceman just to show up at the door and charge you another $50 or $100 for a $2 part? You know, these things all come into play. So, you know, when you get into the food service business, you know, if you are undercapitalized, I'm not going to say it can't happen, but your odds of failure are that much more. You know, I believe the statistic is over 90% of restaurants that open up in the first year fail.
Right.
50% of those that make it through the second year will fail. So that critical point is making it into the third year in there, and you have to continually invest, whether it's time or money or whatever the case is, into the business itself. If you just want to get in and make some money and you pull everything out, I think, again, you're in it for the wrong thing. I mean, by all means, am for capitalism, and, I want to see people get out and be successful. I want to see entrepreneurs put forth their ideas and make things happen. But it's just not for everybody. And this place that I looked at today, as a matter of fact, the two guys that were going to open it up originally just spent $100,000 in 4 months and didn't even open the doors.
Oh, that much money?
$100,000 and didn't even open the doors. And it was a guy that had $100,000 to spend that didn't have a clue about the food service business, and he partnered up with a chef. And then they spent $100,000, and then they had no more money, and the chef had no money to put into it, and the other guy didn't know anything about the business, and they just came to a stalemate and walked away.
That is probably one of the more stereotypical or textbook reasons why they fail and why probably the doors don't even open in the first place. One of the other things I want to ask you about in regards to restaurant and barbecue is the fact that, barbecue isn't something that you can just like whip up from scratch in 20 minutes like some other fairs of restaurants have. So how are you able to produce a really good product over the course of a day?
Well, as you're just saying, you really nailed something there. We're not steaks and hamburgers and things like that where you have it ready in just a few minutes. That's just not our fare. Our big cuts of meat take hours to cook, even if you're doing a hot and fast cook. It is the capability is there to do so. It still takes hours to get that done. So the planning of that, you really have to get into that. We have bars that we have set up in our restaurants, but the one thing that we can never actually determine is how many people are going to walk in our door at a lunchtime. It is very difficult to deal with those things, and then when you have leftover product, what you're going to do with it. But I think if you set it up right, and there's plenty of other successful restaurateurs out there. Tuffy in the last few years has done very well with his operations. There's several other people, and I don't want to get on a list and miss anybody. So I'll just say several people out there.
Sure.
And those that have done that, have come up with plans that work for their establishment and what they do. Quality of food is a big thing, and with barbecue, you sit there and pull a whole bunch of pork at one time and don't use it all during the day.
Yep.
You can cool it and reheat it and all that, but it is a different product. It changes throughout the day. One of the things that we do, for example, on our pork butts, we cook 24/7. The only time we're not cooking, Monday evening is clean out night, major clean out night for the smoker, and it's only down for a few hours. But, whole butts, we pull those off, we pan them up and keep whole butts throughout the day so that they're not pulled and lose that quality, and they don't start drying out. And we only pull butts as needed. So it just doesn't sit there. So figuring little things out like that go a long way. Chicken and ribs, you can cook those things in a couple of hours. So, it could be, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day that you cook those things.
What kind of a smoker are you using in your restaurants? You have like a Old Hickory or a Southern Pride or something like that?
Yeah. We've got an Old Hickory SSO in my Woodstock location, and we've got a SPK. An SPK Southern Pride up in my Jasper store, and then we have a spare Southern Pride 700 on a trailer.
Wow.
And we're actually looking at purchasing another 500 right now.
All right, and we could talk about barbecue restaurant probably for a whole 2-hour show, Bubba. So something we'll kind of piece together over the course of time. But 2 quick questions here before I let you go tonight, and I appreciate your time.
What did Greg ask, Bubba? Head on over to the BBQCentralShow.com. Link in today's show notes will take you right there. Find out what he had to say. On the front end of this interview, Bubba talked a lot about competition, good, even relevant competition stuff today. Restaurant business. You want to make a small fortune? Take a big one and go in the restaurant business. That's what I've always heard. Don't forget, you want to get a hold of me? Shoot me an email, John, John, at the BBQCentralShow.com. I love to hear from you all the time, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm good with hate mail. I mean, somebody's listening. And until next time on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, I am your host, John Solberg. I look forward to talking to you again soon.